Welcome back to the second monthly update for my public portfolio, and in today's video we're going to be talking about my thoughts on the overall market with its slight pullback since its all-time highs, as well as what I'm selling and what I'm buying in my portfolio. And when I say slight pullback, I really mean it. We're down only 2.8% from all-time highs on the S&P 500. We did, however, touch a point that I think is important to call out last Friday, and that's the 50-day moving average on the S&P 500. So if you look at ticker symbol SPY, you can see that we've hit this 50-day moving average throughout the year, and every single time it's happened, the market has pretty much bounced back. And that's exactly kind of how I'm still playing it. I don't think anything has fundamentally changed in the market. I don't think Jerome Powell's going to come out in the next Fed meeting and really change his stance on anything because we're continuing to see higher inflation. The unemployment numbers are much lower, and I don't think they're still going to announce, hey, we're going to taper everything, goodbye quantitative easing. We've also been seeing that the VIX has been climbing a little bit, and I think that's more correlated to the Fed meeting and the decision that has come out of that in this whole environment where we're really looking at what the Fed says to determine, hey, is it going to have an impact on the market or not? That's what I think the VIX is building up for. And if that event comes out and nothing really changes, I expect once again, the VIX to correct, kind of go back down to the 16 level and the S&P 500 to recover. Of course, if Daddy Powell comes out and says that he will begin to taper sooner than the markets expect, I think that would cause a short-term correction and we'd see a spike in bond yields. Now that my thoughts on the general market are out of the way, we can talk about the good stuff, aka what I've been up to in my portfolio over the past month. As of this video, the portfolio is sitting at 60,717 and the alpha generated is around 14.84. So compared to last month's video, we've jumped up around 1% for alpha, which is nice to see. We've collected a little bit more dividends since the last video. I think it was 55 in August, but now it's 62. And in September, we've gotten around $32 in the dividends. Something else that I wanted to point out was in the last video, I talked about my allocation and how I wanted to move more towards stalwart and fast growers. And you can see that's exactly what I've been doing. This went from around 20% to 15%, and most of that has been directed towards stalwarts as well as fast growers. And that's exactly what I want to do with this portfolio. Transition it a little bit more risk. So going from like a 3.5 out of 5 to around 4, that's kind of the ultimate goal, as well as shrink down my positions in ETFs and really focus more on individual stocks. And here are my transactions in this portfolio since my last video. And let's first talk about what have I been selling. Alteryx, Cisco, Palantir, Palo Alto, as well as Altria. All of these stocks I sold out of the entirety of the position, meaning that it's no longer in the portfolio. And now some of these I did add to the watch list to add back into, but the main reason I sold most of these was to clear up positions that I don't have extremely high conviction in and moving more of my money towards higher conviction plays that I think can generate even more alpha instead of being idle in certain positions, as well as these being a smaller percentage of my portfolio. Also, my position in Altria, I wanted to sell when the RSI was above 70 because this is a slow moving stock, and when it's really overbought, I think it's a good time to kind of reposition out of something like this. A similar situation with Cisco where there was a short-term run-up, and with a slow-growing company like this, it was closer to what I thought was fairly valued. And with the RSI being above 70 here as well, I decided I wanted to sell out this position and raise a little bit of cash for the portfolio. With both Palantir and Palo Alto, those are companies that I decided I thought were a little bit overvalued, and they also had a decent run, so I decided to sell those positions off as they were once again a smaller percentage of my portfolio, and added them to my watch list. So if they come back to more reasonable valuations for a long-term entry, I would potentially make a bigger position and get back into those stocks. As for Alteryx, it was a dud stock for me. I didn't really like the company earnings the past couple quarters. They've missed, they've kind of guided lower than I expected, and the growth story that I initially had for the stock doesn't seem to be coming true. So instead of just bag holding, I decided I would just cut that one loose. As for stocks that I've been buying this past month, you probably already have an idea if you've been watching my other videos, which of course is always appreciated. And if you haven't, I would go check out those videos that I did on Zillow as well as Digital Turbine, because I go way way more into detail about why I'm buying these companies. It's a similar thesis for both of them. They are fast-growing companies that have had pullbacks this year, and they've come back to more reasonable valuations for a good long-term entry point, in my opinion. As for Amazon, this thing pulled back to a level that I thought was ridiculous for a company like Amazon, and since I still think that is worth over $4,000 per share, I'm always down to add a little bit more to Amazon when there's a huge pullback. And to give you a sneak peek of a video that's coming out later this week or the following, I'll be talking about Johnson & Johnson and the reason that I'm adding this position to the portfolio and moving out of my VHT position, which is a healthcare ETF. And to reiterate, I'm really trying to transform the portfolio into a more manageable amount of positions. That way, instead of managing 50 positions, I'm managing around 20 to 30 at one time, and therefore I can have more money into each position that I have higher conviction for. Also, if you want to see all of this stuff in real time, you can check out the Patreon in the link below. That is one way that you can also support the channel. And another way you can support the channel is by liking this video, as well as subscribing to Main Street Wolf, where we talk about investing, stocks, anything to do with money. Thanks guys for watching, and have a great day.